Hey guys, welcome back to our restoration project. So today's video is going to be our final progress vlog. And as you can see, not much left here on the bench for me to work through and sort out. This is pretty much the remaining parts and pieces that I'll be either reconditioning or replacing. Earlier this week, I had the opportunity to travel to Lake Havasu and brought all our engine parts to Ollie's machine shop. And met the guys and got a tour of the facilities. And I got to tell you, that is one impressive operation. The guys are super cool. These three guys, the work that they do and the workload they're under, it's amazing. They're extremely passionate about what they do. What they do is very tedious and time consuming. So however long it takes for us to get our parts back, put our engine back together, I'm good with it. We're in very good hands, very capable hands with the guys at Ollie's. So let's take a quick look at a clip I did right before we loaded everything up and headed off to Ollie's. Give you some idea exactly what I brought to them and the condition it was in so that they can see and inspect with their own eyes and instruments and give us the best way to go.
Okay, so just looking at everything laid out on the floor here before I get it loaded up into the truck. So this is everything I'm bringing to Ollie's, which is quite an assortment of parts. Not necessarily going to have them machine everything here. Some of these parts will be replaced with new parts. Some of them probably can be reconditioned, but I'm going to let them really advise me as to the best way to go based on what they see. Got rocker arms here. They can re-tune up those surfaces. I just want them to inspect with their eyes what they think needs to happen, bare minimum. So when it comes to machining, I'm just one of these guys who is not a big advocate of taking parts to a machine shop and just say, hey, let's just do everything. I'm more of a reservist, so bare minimum milling on everything is what I'm hoping for. So if we don't need to do it, I don't want to mill it. I don't want to tap holes and put inserts in, things like that, if we don't need to do it. And I think we'll be okay in this case because the case itself is in pretty good shape. However, our cam towers, the verdict is out on those. I think those are iffy at best. I think our camshafts here are probably not going to make it. I'm hopeful that our crankshaft will do okay, depending on how it measures out. And as far as our heads go, disassembled these over the weekend. Really happy with the way everything looks there. So probably minimal machine work done there to bring those back to life with some new parts in there. Okay, so I thought we'd just take a peek at that before we get it loaded up. So I'm going to head off to Ollie's and see what they say.
So that is definitely a lot of parts. So let's go ahead and take a look and see what I've got here. And then after that, we're going to take off to Flagstaff, Arizona. We're going to meet up with Kurt and Sara at Klassik Automotive Training School. We're going to have a look at the incredible job he did with our 902.
Okay, so then starting with our pistons. So after having these inspected at Ollie's, these are really not going to make it. We're going to be replacing these with a new aftermarket. Probably JE is going to be the way to go here. The problem is that the early 2.0 pistons from Molle with this profile is no longer made. So we can't reuse these and we can't buy anything to replace them that would be exactly the same. So we're going to have to go to an aftermarket there. And that's okay. I've run JE pistons before. They're really super high quality. So I don't have any problems switching out to that. All our sprockets I'm going to be replacing with new sprockets from Porsche and rebuilding these idler arms and gear sets. All our hardware here, I'm just kind of sorting through it, doing a count. I'm going to be reconditioning some of it and just doing a count for repurchasing some new, depending on condition and what's going on with that. Our shrouding here, I'm going to be tuning all that up, making the modification to that and putting a good finish on that. And then our chain tensioners here. So my plan on these is I'm just going to take these with me to Kurt's shop and then have him look at them and then advise really the best way to go with these early chain tensioners. I don't have a problem rebuilding these and reusing these, but I think he's got some kind of a later modification that makes them a little bit more safe and a little bit more dependable. And then a sneak peek at our car out here, covered up and waiting to give you some kind of an unveiling at some point down the year. As soon as we get our engine installed, up and running, we'll peel this cover off and see what the final product looks like. Also, we have our exhaust system here all covered up and everything dust-free, just waiting an engine.
Okay, Kurt, here we go.
Okay, Mike.
Okay, guys, so here we are at Klassik Automotive Training School. I got the Jedi Master himself, Kurt Donahue. Kurt has got our transmission all finished up for us. So what we're going to do is just take a close-up look at this guy. And then also I got a couple questions for Kurt on, the different transmissions. He'll be able to answer those for us. So let's do a close-up look at this. And then when we're done with that, we're going to look at a couple other things in the shop here that we're going to do to complete our car. So how many videos did we do on that? We did like 4. You did 4,
Yeah,
I think.
so.
If you haven't seen the video set on this transmission, I really recommend you guys check those out. The information in there, the video work, the editing, everything you would ever want to know about an early Porsche transmission. It's so well done. Really intimidating for me when I took this thing apart to look at it. I just had no transmission experience whatsoever. But through Kurt's videos, I honestly believe they're so well done and they're so well explained that I actually believe I could probably do one of these myself now. So we really appreciate all the expert instruction, Kurt. Thank you very much. So I had a question on the 902 versus the 901. What was the difference in those?
Basically, the main differences were just the different ratios available.
Okay.
Exterior-wise, they looked almost identical. I mean, maybe some slight differences in casting, but that was about it.
So the 901 came first.
Correct.
And so both of them would have been 5 speeds?
5 or 4 speeds, just depends on how it was ordered, what car you bought. 4 speeds were used in 4-cylinder and 6 cylinders.
Okay.
And often 5 speeds were offered as an option depending on the car that you were buying.
Yeah, beautiful job. And then you had this little booklet here. I just want to show this. Some antique book. How old do you think this book is?
Oh, that book I've had for about 30 years.
Okay, so this is a classic book. You could probably pause this and get some information off of here if you wanted to. But this book talks about all the different transmissions and what was available as far as options versus standard equipment throughout the years. So you were saying that a 5-speed was actually an optional piece of equipment versus the 4 speeds.
Yeah, on some vehicles, absolutely. A lot of the like the lower end vehicles, the T's or the normal 911 normals, most of those were delivered with 4-speed transmissions, with the 5-speed being an optional.
Okay, and would that be the same for the 912s?
Yeah, 912s you saw a lot more 4 speeds earlier on, and later on a lot more 5 speeds, but it was always an option.
Okay.
One of the good things with Porsche, you could always option out whatever you wanted.
Yeah, they're big on the options. They start out with nothing, you got to option everything. Okay, so we're over here to Kurt's bench of carburetors. He's got some nice looking rebuilds here on the bench. Kurt's put all those together. Wow, if you guys haven't checked out his series on carburation, highly recommended you see all his videos. You really want to understand the Webers, the differences between the Webers, and how they all work. He's just got an incredible depth of knowledge on these carburetors. So Kurt has done a video on how to do this process, so we're not going to go through the entire lengthy explanation of how to dial these in. Purpose of bringing them here is to, we'll just do a separate video on that, just to see how they perform. But the main thing is that we want to make sure they function like they should. Everything's working as it should be, and everything balances out. Even though we have quite a bit of elevation difference here up in Flagstaff. What did you say you were? Like
7,300.
Yeah, 7,300 feet up here. And we're around 1,000 feet down in Vegas. Kurt seems to think that that's not going to have much of an effect as far as setting these guys up and getting everything tested out. So we can look forward to that on our next video. Okay, Kurt, so here's our timing chain tensioners that I pulled off the car. And I've got, I think, the updated kits to rebuild these. And I've watched your video, and I feel fairly confident I could do this job myself. But there was some things in the video that put hair up on the back of my neck. If we don't get it just right, we're going to end up with the same problem all over again. So one of these has been converted to a mechanical, as you can see, so that's pretty ruined. And I did buy an extra one
online for some parts. Do you think we can convert one of these back over then after it's been converted like this?
To
Depending on what's in there. I
change this?
haven't taken it apart.
Well, usually when people do these is they'll put just a slug of aluminum in here.
Okay.
And if you had all of the parts in here, yeah, you could convert it back.
Okay.
But you've got two right here. I would just rebuild these two.
Well, right. So I was thinking of taking the housing because the housing is the correct numbers, and then taking the parts off of the donor. One of these is not the correct numbers. So switch out anything that we can do there. A question that really just kind of ponders. So these are going to be rebuilt on a complete engine rebuild. So then we would want to fill them with the oil that's going to be used upon break-in, correct? Or does it matter?
Usually I use a 2050 weight oil.
Okay.
And I don't really care what the engine's going to run. That's more what I run. This is basically like a shock absorber. If you think about an oil-filled shock absorber on your car, inside here you have a little valving with a check valve.
Okay.
And so when the chain whips and it applies pressure on top of this, the thicker the oil, the slower this is going to be to respond.
Okay.
And so it'll lock up a little bit faster, but eventually it's going to be able to push through it as oil.
Okay, so then by that explanation, there's no oil from the engine. It's actually going to travel through there at any point. It's a sealed unit.
Correct.
And the right oil to use in there is be the 2050.
That's what
okay, that makes good sense because I was just kind of wondering about that. Okay, let's move on to the next thing. Okay, Kurt, so here we have a brand new connecting rod bolt from Porsche. I've replaced all these, and I haven't been able to find any good information on torque spec versus stretch on these bolts for the 911 connecting rods. Can you enlighten us a little bit as to what needs to happen here with these bolts? Also, discarding the old bolts. Right? I mean, so if we torque this down one time to try and take a reading, is the bolt pretty much done, or can we re-torque it after that, or is this a one-time go-around and that's that?
No, you can retorque these. Now, all of the torque information that I have on these is from Porsche.
Okay.
And it's going to be a regular, like 45 Newton meters, I think, is the number that comes off the top of my head. I'd have to verify in my shop manual.
Okay.
When you do a stretch measurement, you're essentially doing the same thing. And if you have the information on how much stretch that bolt's supposed to have, it is an accurate way of doing it.
Oh, okay. This because there's nothing on the head of these, and sometimes connecting rod bolts have all that information stamped on the head as far as stretch, values, and also torque. But there's nothing on here, even though it's from Porsche. So we're just going to have to go with torque spec, and then wouldn't hurt to take like a stretch measurement, anyways, just to see where they all are before we get started. And then check them as we go so that they're all even? Is that?
That is up to you.
Oh, okay.
That is if you wanted to do, you could do it. Sometimes you got to look at it and not overcomplicate it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I didn't want to overcomplicate it. I just want to make sure we get this part right because head bolts and connecting rod bolts are pretty critical parts of the engine build there. So fairly confident we get the new Porsche or the new connecting rod bolts from Porsche. We could just put them in there, torque them down, and we should be good.
Correct.
For some reason, we need to take that rod back out of there, do something, and then re-torque it back down. Not going to hurt it?
No, it's not going to hurt it.
Okay, great.
Do you want a box to stand on?
Yeah, good.
I got some 4x4s over there.
You're fine where you're at. Like.
We need to have... Oh man, you gotta look at this. Here's Kurt's secret drawer. This is how he does it all. Look at all this.
He's on.
Okay, guys, so here we are at Klassik Automotive Training School. We got the Jedi Master himself.
Let me see how much dirt. Let me see how much dirt you got in there.
I'm not sure how far.
Oh no, you look good.
Is
That looks good. Yeah.
How about Kurt?
He's too close. He's touching the screen. Well, he's just touching the top.
Okay, Kurt, thanks a lot for taking care of our transmission work for us. You did a beautiful job. Guys, be sure to check out those videos. And also, we appreciate all those extra tips sharing with us
Also, Sarah, why don't you come over here and introduce yourself? Come on over here. Come on. Come on.
Good luck with that.
Come on, Sarah.
Don't look at it like that.
All right, guys. Thanks for watching. We'll see you on the next video. Next video is going to be test and tune on our carburetors.
Yeah, see, you know you're not going to get me on there.
You chicken.